Hey, Star Wars nuts. Welcome back to the Holocron Chronicles on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. This is episode 137. I am your Trek Lord of West Michigan, Charlie Carden, joined by my co-Trek Lord guy, Peter Stein. Peter, good afternoon. How you doing today?
Doing all right.
Excellent. Well, it's a big episode for a couple of different reasons, the most important of which is that we are wrapping up Darth Maul Shadow Lord, the last original piece of content that we're going to get for Star Wars in 2026, which is going to kind of lead us to our second announcement, which I will do after I do our plug, which is giving some homage, love, and respect to the wonderful people on our Secret Friends Unite Patreon over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Those folks do get some great exclusive programming, including we're now winding down, Peter. We're recording the last two segments of the regular series of Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, and then we have a couple of TV movies to talk about. But that will end our Facts of Geek Life. But the good news is that the Great Bad Movies podcast I do with my wife April will become a monthly show and kind of take the place of that. So that's exclusive program you'll only get over on our Patreon. All of our shows come out early. This show, for example, comes out on a Wednesday for the rest of the world, but Patreons get it the previous Sunday. And you know, the great channel on our Discord only for Patreon. This is the way it works. Your first week is completely free. Even if you just sign up as a free member, want to keep track of what we're doing, do that. But if you choose to stay on board, your first month is half off, and then you stick around for as little as $2 a month. So that is a huge bargain for hundreds and hundreds of hours of great entertainment talking about pop culture, just about everything under the sun. Patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. We would absolutely love to see you there. All right. News, good, bad, or indifferent. Peter and I were kind of knocking around, and after Mandalorian and Grogu, which was the big event this year, but when we found out that Ahsoka was getting pushed to 2027, we kind of said, maybe it's time to slow things down a little bit for this show, and stretch it out a little bit, simply because we're getting Ahsoka in 2027 at an undisclosed time. The beginning was the latest rumor. We know that next summer we're going to be seeing Star Wars Starfighter starring the very dreamy Ryan Gosling, which everybody's very excited about. But between then and now, there is not a heck of a lot to talk about. So what Peter and I are going to do, we're going to start releasing the show on a monthly basis as opposed to a bi-weekly basis. We really feel it'll give us time to maybe hone down, be a little bit more focused on what we're covering. I think we're going to start talking a little bit more about episodes of animated programs that have come and gone. We've got a long list of great arcs to talk about. We're going to work on bringing some guests back in if they want to, do the homework with us and talk about that. We're trying to plan a little special 30th anniversary for Shadows of the Empire, which we talked about in the distant past on this show. But I want to bring in a friend of mine who was right at the epicenter of that back in 1996 when I was. But that's kind of pending. He expressed some interest, but is not a big podcaster in this day and age, so I don't want to drop any names and kind of obligate him. But anyway, that's our effort, and again, to really turn our focus on some of the other great shows in our network. If you listen to Code 47, you'll know from our last episode that we are now part of the Trek Geeks network of family of Star Trek podcasts, which is something very exciting that was an organic development that happened over the last 4 years, and our relationship with Bill and Dan, the guys that run that network. It brings us into the fold with a lot of great other Trek-focused podcasts. But, we really want to give that our all. We're having an absolutely incredible time with our Spotlight podcast, where we interview pop culture creators, both actors, writers, directors, all kinds of different people in the pop culture space. We want to keep our focus on that. And then also our Oops All Thunderdome segment, where we talk about everything else: new comics, new movies, new TV shows, returning TV shows, heritage stuff. So we want to keep a place for Star Wars, but when things pick up again, we anticipate in 2027, certainly when Ahsoka comes back around, we'll probably pick up again. But if you're a listener of the show, if you've been with us from the jump, please stick with us. You'll still see us. Don't think that the show is going away. It's just taking a half, would you call it half of a hiatus, Peter? Or what would you call it? I'm sorry, drawdown, reduction in forces.
Yeah, we're on a siesta.
We're on a siesta.
You're still doing stuff, just not in heavy mode.
But still be here with us, because we definitely want to have you kicking around. Turn to the news, and again, this is kind of endemic of what I was just talking about. I don't believe there's any new Star Wars news releases, anything big. Looking at Star Wars News net.com, which is our source.
The only thing that came out this last week was there were some early beta test reviews and footage from the new Galactic Racer game.
Okay. Cool.
So we did get a little bit of some gameplay and footage of using speeder bikes, land speeders, skimmers, and then pod racers.
Okay.
So it's the spiritual successor to 1999's Racer and Racer's Revenge in 2002. So it looks like it's going to be pretty solid. I haven't played it myself. I haven't got hands on it, but it looks like it's going to be fun. I mean, obviously there's not going to be tons of story, but what we do know is that Sebulba is making an appearance. I don't know what time period this is set in. But we do know that
he survived episode 1 because he went poodoo.
Yep. Yeah, he's still alive. So we do know that our favorite Schmucky Doug is back to cause trouble.
Schmucky Doug can almost be the name of this episode. Teach me how to Schmucky Dougie. It's a dance. I'll keep that. I did pick out a tentative name for the episode, but we should circle back to that. So, that's fun, and that's something. That's something when it drops, if you and Mark, Mark was back with us for The Mandalorian and Grogu, but again, he is about to have a baby later this year. But if you can steal him away, and the two of you want to talk about that, I steer clear of the video game stuff since I just don't feel like I have a lot to add, so I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, if that happens organically, I think that would be great. But I know we're gonna be bringing our focus. We've been talking about comics for a long time, but we're gonna be kind of drill down at revisiting Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, like some of the really great arcs from those shows, and just kind of digging in deeper, like we do over on Code 47. If you listen to that show,
we'll probably hit the prequels again because we did the original trilogy, and so
we do have that. I also have the sequel trilogy in the distance to talk about that again because I want to be comprehensive. When Peter and I took the show over fully late last summer, so it's almost been a year, we did kind of a soft reboot, as they say. So we started from the beginning. We decided to start with the works of George Lucas. So we talked about some non-Star Wars things out the bat, and then we had some great guests on board. And we've not had a guest on in a while, so I'd love to bring back one of the people from our talent stable. So when we do one of these first TV arcs, I may reach out to one of the people that we've had on with us on a pretty frequent basis, like Laron. Laron did a lot of great episodes with us. Snedeker did as well. I don't know how but he loves animated stuff. So so that we might be able to kind of suck him in and just kind of maybe even get like a, not even outsider's perspective, but somebody who's never, like somebody watching it for the first time. That could be kind of fun because it's all on Disney Plus. So I'm going to float that idea to him to see if that would be a way to kind of win him back. So, all right, well, that's the news. We're still here. Give us feedback if you're like, guys, don't go away, or I can't believe the show is still on. Drop us a line on any of our socials. Of course, we're on all socials as Secret Friends Unite. Just find us, and of course, secretfriendsunite at gmail.com if you want to send us a note. We're totally on board with that. But we're going to finish talking about MAUL Shadow Lord. This is episodes 9 and 10. This has been a weird journey for Peter and I. I can at least speak for myself, but I feel like he and I have been simpatico. If you listen to the last, several episodes you got for us, that this hasn't 100% sold us, and we were maybe waiting for a big conclusion to drive us into, now I see what they were getting at. So the question is, as we get into this last chunk, episodes 9 and 10, which ends this first season, and the second season is confirmed. So that'll be another thing that snaps us back into biweekly production, assuming that's going to come out in 2027. That could very well be their second quarter release next year, because remember, that's what this was May the 4th. Let's with that and Ahsoka. So I guess that's two things. But anyway, let's talk about episode 9 first. I'll jump into reading the synopsis. We'll go into notes, and then we'll do the same thing with episode 10. And then we'll kind of give a big final thoughts wrap up, etc.
I will try to make sure that I don't bleed in between the two.
Right. If it happens, you probably already, I'm assuming you've already seen it. Again, these dropped in their entirety, I think, on May 4th. Or this was a weekly release. This was a weekly release.
I actually waited to watch this until 2 days ago.
I just watched it this morning,
so that I could have like my initial reaction and not just have oh, well, I've sat here and like just percolated on it forever, or, whatever.
Very
fermented. I'm not fermenting on it. It's just,
yes, exactly. It's the mead. It's the fermented mead. But many other people have seen this since last month, because I believe all the episodes were finally out at the end of May. So yeah. So you've probably seen this, so now you're getting our take. But here we go. Chapter 9 is Strange Allies. Steward Lee handling I'm going to mix it up again. Either the team is Steward Lee and Chris Yost. That's the director. It goes director, writer. I get it wrong every time because I erased the top header of it, and so it doesn't tell me. But anyway, Dryden Voss of the crime syndicate Crimson Dawn, recast, by the way, which I get why, but also kind of bums me out because I love Paul Bettany. But the guy doing this voice, who is probably a wonderful voice actor, I really felt the loss of Paul Bettany, because I like Solo as a movie. I watched it. That was my May the 4th watch, was Solo. So I've seen it relatively recently. But anyway, so Dryden Voss offers Saul, better call Saul, offers Maul safe passage off Janix in exchange for becoming Crimson Dawn's new leader, meaning Dryden Voss wants to become the leader, not that he wants Maul to be the leader, because that sentence is a little misleading. Maul sends a mental message to Devon in a very weird sequence, which I didn't care for. And she leads the I don't care for what kind of proceeding, but I'll get to it in my notes. To Devon as she leads the rest of the group to a meeting point where Maul proposes an alliance to get off the planet. That's going to go so good. Lawson suggests an underground route to a rendezvous point outside the city. Coming to an acidic river of toxic waste. I got a couple of good gags about that one too. The group slowly crosses as the Inquisitors catch up with them. Couldn't have seen that coming. Maul holds off the Inquisitors long enough for the others to cross and then joins them. Outside the city, they are confronted by the Inquisitors' master, ...
Who kills Cast?
Who kills Cast, which I thought happened in the next episode, because isn't Cast...
Nope, it's right at the end. Yeah, It's right at the end. Runs out. There's someone here. Whoosh.
Oh, gotcha. You know why? Because I was mixing Cast up with Dennis Haysboro's character.
Oh, yeah.
That's why. Cast was the mouthy Mandalorian woman.
Who hilariously everyone thought was going to be the armorer.
Yeah. Nope.
Very dead.
Well, the ... is the most egregious portion of this, which I'm going to bitch about extensively. All right, I did write, my first note was get ready for special guest star Bonanza, because we get two. Peter, walk us through how you're feeling about episode
9. So the beginning of it does make sense in terms of like Dryden Voss is getting Maul's help. It's nice that we finally get a tie back into the underworld, like the stuff that's off of Janix, because that's something that I was kind of hoping for in this show, which we only really got in episodes 1 and 2. And so getting a little bit more of that larger scale with Crimson Dawn coming in, and then it's like, okay, here's going to be the tie-in why Maul is tied to Crimson Dawn, why we see him at the end of Solo. Okay,
right,
interesting. Right. The mental image feels very much Palpatine screwing with Anakin in episode 3.
Right.
So I liked it. It was weird in the sense that like we then have Daki going like the only way that this could happen is if you had like a connection with Maul and you like open.
And I wrote it was very creepy, a la the David Bowie's Goblin King from Labyrinth.
It kind of was.
No.
Yeah, kind of was that way.
It was super creepy because Jennifer Connelly, to me possibly the hottest woman who's ever lived in the 20th century, was like 15 when she made that movie. So that was not cool. It was beyond not cool.
Yeah, she was. Yeah. So we have that, and then they're like, oh, Maul somehow also got across the point of a location of where we want to meet. So she describes
Here's all the convenient plot details.
So she describes it, and then Ryan is able to tell them, oh, yeah, it's this statue over here. And so they go, and Daki first talks to Maul and is like, you better not betray us. And Maul's like, well, kind of gives the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of thing. It's like, if you want to get off this planet, I'm the only one who can help.
Right.
So then they work together. I knew that they were going to have to do that.
Right.
So it is a plot contrivance, but it's not. It works.
It's egregious and not egregious at the same time.
It's not egregious. It's just kind of it's a noticeable thing. Yeah. But it's one of those like this had to happen for the story to continue because of where you wrote yourself.
Right. And does Dennis Haysbert at this point refer to Maul as the Shadow Lord? Is that the first time that expression has been used? Because that really kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like, really, you called him the Thing and you just kind of pulled it out of your ass, and then that's the name of the show?
I think it may have been briefly referenced.
Does Maul have that on a business card? Here you go. I'm the Shadow Lord.
I think it was briefly referenced in like episode 1 or 2. When they had like that really, really crappy security recording of him murking people. So
I'm the Shadow Lord.
So I think it may have been that when he had his hood up and he was acting all mysterious and just downing folks.
Yeah.
So I think it was mentioned once before this, but other than that, that's where it is. And then they go down to the Wisconsin side of Lake Michigan.
Oh shit! Shots fired! Ouch!
I'm kidding.
It's Green Bay.
I'm kidding. Wisconsin's not nearly that bad, but
it's not nearly that good. Bad.
They're not dropping,
I wrote
gelatinous, like really bad, soft serve ice cream into a pool.
I wrote, yes, I said their voyage through the sludge was pretty gnarly. Where's Mr. Burns and Blinky the three-eyed fish? Look at the Simpsons. Bloop.
Yeah, it was funny in the sense that like, oh, look, it's like a lava pit, but it's an acid pit, but it's not. It's industrial waste. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay. Right. I did write, I really love, so it was a great set piece with a bunch of a bunch of speeder bikes and an ATST or whatever the hell version you want to call that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that Maul is fighting them, and he chops off the foot of the ATST and it falls over and blows up. So I've named this episode in honor of that sequence. It is the Ford Pinto of Imperial vehicles. If you're at all familiar, because I know you're a bit of a car guy, of the Ford Pinto. Being very famously subjected to explosions after rear-end collisions.
Particularly rear-end collisions.
Yeah.
Because that bumper, man.
Yeah. Hopefully the people at Ford don't algorithm me, in which case I'll change the...
They admitted it. They know this thing.
I'll change the O and the R to like a squiggly line or something. But you know what?
Just add an O to the end of the Pinto. The Ford Pinter.
You know what you did. I did like, there was a couple of funny bits with the spy bot, because they're all together, and the spy bot is one of Maul's droids, right? And he's like kind of snarking.
I think he's voiced by Filoni again. Like
but at least very much like Chopper. That's what I wrote down. It's very, very much like Chopper. So I enjoyed that as far as
he even makes an Emperor's New Groove reference, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah, what's the reference?
Well, like I forget who it is, but someone like trips on that little hoverboard that they're using and like puts his hand on the robot and he goes, "No touchy." I thought that was kind of fun.
We got to jam their comms in here, which I adapted. I said, as we Gen X kids prefer, jam it on the one. It's from the Cosby Show, when the Cosby Show was still okay to watch. Second big, I wrote Choppy Chop Fest number 2 is when the Inquisitors show up. So we have the fart gas guy. He's the first Inquisitor, and the guy with the big like dinosaur head or whatever. What has he got? The big bull head,
the Longhorn mask.
Does he have a name? Longhorn mask guy.
I think he's the third brother. Yeah, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But the thing is, like, we know what happens to him.
Yeah.
Ahsoka happens to it.
Right. And we know what's going to happen with Fart Gas Guy or the Fartian. But he makes it all the way to Ahsoka, and that's when he's got a lot of living yet to do, a lot of chopping. But yeah, what I wrote the bandana mask Maulite guy. So basically, what's Maul's species again? It's a Zabrak, exactly. He does go out in this like kick-ass blaze of glory. He's throwing knives at the TKs. He uses one guy as a human shield, and the guy gets shot like 5 or 6 times, and then he gets taken down. But I'm
he gets shot, and then he goes into final stand mode and kills like 15 of these guys, and then just like body slams like 4 of them into the acid pit,
and they go into the Blinky. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. The only thing that they didn't do with that is have him do the thumbs up on the way down.
Yeah,
but that was the only thing that didn't happen.
I did love, so, everybody gets away, and there's this kind of nice head piece where Devin is like levitating they're doing like the hopper jump thing like they did at the end of episode 3 except for it's acid, except for lava. So everybody gets across, and I absolutely do love how Maul gets over and he does the glower power, which Mr. Burns says, they can't beat my glower power, and he just glowers at something that he does looking back. I wrote the fart gas crew, but I meant the
It was also funny to me how he was using Ahsoka's pose.
Yeah.
Because he had both of his lightsabers in reverse grip, and he was standing with his back to them, kind of looking over his shoulder, which was very much an Ahsoka pose. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
And so, the crew continues on, and then look, we're walking in some fog. I sure hope there's nothing in the fog. And that's when
no one ever that survived.
Yeah, that's when the Mando chick gets grabbed and she gets kind of dragged out, like you see in any horror movie. Or like, or like poor Riker getting pulled into the slime. Data, something's got me, and he's getting pulled off. And she gets whacked up, because then we see the big guest villain that I'm sure, and again, Peter, maybe I'm just a fucking cynic. I don't know, but I see this and I'm like, it's Vader. And we're right at the end of the episode, and I'm like, and he gets there's the big swell of the music and stuff. And I know, and again, shame on me. Why am I such a grump? What's my deal? But I'm just annoyed. I'm just annoyed. Is that weird that I'm just annoyed?
No.
That like you just can't have something and not stick in Vader for the umpteenth time. And not only this, and I'll give a minor spoiler if we get in the next episode, he never says a word.
Yep. He never does.
I'm sure that's purposeful in some way, shape, or form. We all know that James Earl Jones' voice is now digitized because he's passed away, and they negotiated with his estate. There was a story a year or so, maybe within the last year.
He gave permission before he died.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, yeah. I guess his estate is cashing the checks is more to my point. And as well, they should. But that makes this even shittier, because then these people get no money at all, because it's not like likeness rights. It's an animated version it's the animated version of the guy in the helmet, which James Earl Jones didn't play anyway, because it was David Prowse. So I would you think that's the reason? I
hope not, because that
rubs me the wrong way in an entirely different direction.
If that's the case, that would be really shitty. I think that's
not cool.
I think for story reasons, it was more just to keep him scary.
Yeah,
like the non, I don't know, Jason from Friday the 13th or whatever.
Good point.
Doesn't speak at all. So I think that's the vibe that they were going for.
Okay. I like that better. That makes me less pissed off to think that they're just trying to.
There is still a possibility of it being a shitty corporate move, but I think it was leaning more towards the Friday the 13th sort of deal, where the inexorable movement of this just absolutely insane bad guy coming to get you.
Right. Exactly.
So that's my read.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on 9 before we blunt this home into episode 10?
Nothing super. Not a lot. It is interesting how we just kind of get all of Maul's group kind of whittled down to nobody.
Yeah.
By the end of the episode,
like in a horror movie, you're all right, whatever you do, don't go into the next one by yourself.
But all of our good guys, Lawson, Riley, Devin, Docky, Two Boots, they're all still there, and then Vario's still alive somehow.
Right.
So all of those characters are all fine. No losses, not barely even hurt, barely an inconvenience, and then all of Maul's people just get completely destroyed.
Right.
So he's got nobody by the end, because Evil Bot gets sliced in half, and there's this really oh no, master kind of thing that happens, which is sad. So it's played well, but it's man, you just took everything from Maul.
Right.
And I mean, we do know that by the time we get to Rebels, he's by himself and all of that.
Right.
But it seems weird that for him to be potentially how we see him in Solo, where he's kind of the mover and shaker behind stuff. It's still kind of weird to have him lose everybody. He's clearly going to pick some stuff up from Crimson Dawn later, which we'll see at a later point. But
and it's obvious. I'll talk about this in kind of my thoughts about season 2, but it's kind of obvious there's still a power shift to be addressed.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that still has yet to happen.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's talk about episode 10, The Dark Lord. Oh, gosh, who's the Dark Lord?
Gee, I wonder who that is.
I don't know. Nathaniel Villanueva is handling the writing and direction. Directing, damn it! Matthew Mishenovitz and Brad Rao are doing the writing.
Yes,
there you go. Maul and the Jedi engage Vader and the Inquisitors, while Vario, Two Boots, and the Lawsons make their way to the Rendivius Point rendezvous, which is full of imps. Big shock. During the fighting, Daki pushes Marak off a bridge, which he's totally fine. He's made of farts. You can't hurt gas. Made of farts could be another name of the episode. But I think I used a fart title in at least in either the last one or the one before that. So maybe, we don't want to fart pigeonhole ourselves with the titles.
Just because Marak's here doesn't mean we need to have that reference.
Another fart gag. There you go. With Devin distracted fighting the 11th brother.
Oh, that's who that is. Okay, yeah.
There you go. Maul decides to leave Daki to be killed by Vader. That's pretty stone cold, which is what happens. Devin sees her master die and is overcome with rage. Dun, 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 dun. Yes, they handled it ever so lightly. Oh, I'm just kidding. They handled it as ham-fistedly as humanly possible. Maul helps her escape. What's that?
As the Sith do.
And indeed, Maul helps her escape from the Inquisitor and Vader and promises to train her so they can have her revenge. Lawson sacrifices himself to save his son and Two Boots, and Vario reach Voss's ship, joined by Maul and Devin. As the ship leaves Janix, Devin agrees to become Maul's apprentice. Gosh, I couldn't have seen that.
I saw that coming from the trailer.
Oh my God. Yeah. So if you're still tuned in, get ready for things to get real grumpy, because I've got some grumpy thoughts, but I'm gonna let Peter go first.
All right. So I definitely have some thoughts on this episode, obviously. Okay. Yes. So I did like how they did the kept the tension up with Voss getting there eventually, and they had to cut comms. Okay, cool. Also, it was they made it very obvious that the Imperials were going to be at the landing zone because you had Marak and contact Vader, and they're like, well, they're heading your way. We know where they're going. That was the previous episode. So them having the Imperials there made sense. So then we could have a battle from some guys between the good guys and stormtroopers while the lightsaber fighters were doing their thing, because otherwise you just have our heroes standing around going, well, now what? So that was good structure wise. It was kind of fun to see them take down a Lambda class and just blow.
That was pretty hot. So it was akin to from G.I. Joe, if you love the G.I. Joe cartoon like I did, listeners, watching one guy with a laser pistol shoot down a Cobra, fighter jet, was pretty great.
Yeah, and they convinced Vario to help them as a distraction. So there were some good dynamics between those.
Yeah, so a lot of great set pieces in this. Final
there was some
episode.
Good stuff.
Fights and explosions and the stuff that you want out of a war. As though again we spent no time
that stuff was good. I'll get to the lightsaber duel in a second, but because I'm just covering the other people. The sacrifice of Lawson, I get why they did it, but and it is something that happens in Star Wars a lot, where it's like, oh, you're afraid to kill people, and so a main character died. Okay, fine, but it was just interesting that that's the one who died. So I understand, because it's like Riley's a kid, that would be weird.
I don't want to go that far.
It's not kosher to do that.
And killing off droids
has been done one too many times. It doesn't have the same emotional weight. And you do need Riley for what's likely going to be certain story beats in season 2 with Devin.
Sure.
So I understand why they chose that character. It was just unfortunate because that character did have a lot going for him.
Right.
And so it's kind of like it was a heroic sacrifice. I get it. But it was one of those things of if that gun had just a slightly faster Clone Wars setting, he would have been fine.
Right.
But that blaster's so slow.
Barely a semi-auto. It didn't even really qualify. It was not a minigun.
Yeah.
A minigun would have been. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. For the lightsaber duel itself, I thought it was very well choreographed. Very well done. they did. I know that a lot of people were talking about how like Vader uses only one hand when he doesn't care about you and he thinks that you're, not worth his time. Oh, yes.
Cold.
That did happen.
That's a very Vader thing, because it's like if you think about somebody's dad, it's like, well, this is me. I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm disappointed. You're so shitty at fighting me.
Yeah, and if you've seen other films like Matrix does this with Neo, where he does the one hand to do Agent Smith, like this is a thing you do. But I will note for those who are like, oh well, Vader only did. No, Vader used both hands periodically. There were moments when he was, especially when he was one-on-one, where he would just use one hand. But
it's funny you say that, because that's all I noticed, that he was just fighting with one hand.
Oh, so yeah. No, my younger brother had seen it, and so he was like, Vader uses one hand. And so I was watching his hands closely, because Vader in the original trilogy does use both hands against Luke a couple times.
Because he loves him.
So he does use his big baseball bat swings on people. And so like Vader's fighting style is very consistent with Vader in the films. And so I thought that they did that really well here. He's a tank. He doesn't do anything like super flashy, but you are going to die. And so they did play that really, really well in terms of having Vader function. Maul getting hurt more and having his legs broken. And then he's just like, you know what? I still want Devin as an apprentice. And so curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal, and Daki gets killed.
Damn it.
So Devin being like, oh, this is terrible, Vader killed him. And it's like, well, yes, but Maul got him killed.
It was a yes and. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then Maul and like Devin does get Marak pitched down a cliff. Great.
Right.
And then there's this fight in the ruins when they're down below felt like it was referencing some other film, and I couldn't quite figure out what it was, but it felt very much like a horror movie when Vader pops out of the mist and has more, and there's like all these ruined pillars, and eventually they drop a ceiling on him.
Yeah,
It felt very much like another horror film. I don't know what it is. Maybe someone else does, but it definitely felt like it was referencing.
Well, there's the mist or the fog. So there was one was Stephen King, one was John Carpenter.
Yeah.
So yes.
And then they finally get back to the ship because, they stop Vader with a ceiling. And so he has to, pause to not get smushed.
Yeah.
Which actually is very similar to like Jedi Survivor. Where you open up the ocean on him. And so he's got to hold that back.
He goes Moses.
Yeah. So they do successfully make Vader dangerous and turn him into like a force of nature. So like they're treating Vader well as Vader. So I will give them that for sure. Because other times, like even in Obi-Wan Kenobi, for instance, like Vader isn't quite as powerful as like we know he can be.
Yeah.
So this one does definitely do that. But then we get at the very end, the very, very unsurprising, because Devin's lightsaber falls off the cliff, and so Maul throws her his lightsaber, and so now she's fighting with his Episode 1 saber. He's fighting with, I think, Savage, the leftover Savage's saber,
right?
And so they're fighting together against Vader. But so she's still holding his lightsaber, and it's like, I want to learn from you, ta-da! And then we get like the little smirk from Maul, and it's over.
I've got it.
Again, like I've been saying the whole time, we're not getting a lot of Maul character development.
Right.
And for a show that's substantial, like allegedly about Maul, it's not about him, which is fine. You don't have to have a show about him, but the fact that it's got his name on it is just a little strange to me.
I was going to say, and maybe we've revisited this in one of the previous segments, but does it kind of make you feel like we felt watching Boba Fett, where they took a quarter of the show and made it about Mandalorian so they could move forward their big story, but not really keep it on Boba Fett? And we also really felt like maybe we kind of sort of know why he was doing things like, I'm revenging the Tusken Raiders or blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
it's kind of the same way. And so it feels like, and I know I've mentioned this way back in Episode 1, but Devin is going to be a version of Darth Talon, like almost for sure. at some point. I don't know how long she's going to live or if they're bringing her into, but she's going to be a villain in a future project. That's just going to happen unless they decide to Barris Ophi her into no longer being bad. But this felt more like an origin story for that character than it felt like as a continuation of MAUL. Like MAUL was there and MAUL had some important things to do, but it felt like an origin story for Devin, not MAUL's continued story. And so that is ultimately where my kind of nitpick for this show comes from. It's not that it's bad, and it's not that I dislike Devin. I don't. I think Devin is an interesting character. I want to see more of Devin. But that's what this story is about. It's about Devin's fall to the dark side, or the opening the door to fall to the dark side, rather than the continuation of MAUL. So we're literally getting a call me old master bit from Rebels where Ezra starts to lean into the rage, and then you see that development at the beginning of Rebels season 4, right?
Right.
Where you get him being more angry, and then, Kanan has to pull him back from the edge. So that's what it feels like we're doing with this character. And so, there is a little bit of that Book of Boba Fett bit where it's like, I wanted to know more about the title character. I wanted to see more about this title character who I like. It's not that I dislike everybody else, but I was told there would be MAUL. Where is MAUL?
And all the other characters should be looking around and saying, he's Poochie. Should be looking around and saying, where's Poochie? I think you hit the nail on the head, because it's almost as if they slapped MAUL's name on the side, MAUL's name on the side of a lunchbox, but you open it up and it's a sandwich of Devin. You know what I mean? Or they want to bring in all these other characters and give her motivation. Where was MAUL, and you've been saying this all along, MAUL really, what is he trying to accomplish? He wants to be a Crown Lord. Why does he want to be a Crown Lord? What does he want to do? Because
he wants an apprentice. Okay, but we didn't tie it back to now he doesn't have his brother, so he wants to have. If it's the thing is with character motivations, if it's all implicit and the audience has to impose their interpretation of his motivation onto the character,
right?
Without pieces there to do that, you're not quite doing it right, in my opinion.
It all becomes kind of supposition, and that's the issue. Sidebar, I'll say something good. The little fella whose name I can't remember, Ivario says, "You're not small. You're not small. You're not small. You're super tall." And he says, "Over here, you moof milking laser brain," when he's shooting at the TKs. That makes him my favorite character.
Vario is hilarious. I have liked Vario this whole time. He's just obnoxious.
I have enjoyed that. I did very much enjoy the set pieces we were talking about, the cannon, the shuttle. But you're right. Kind of the sacrifice play of Lawson makes sense. But again, it's handled in a dumb way. It's like, I took one weapon and I'm going to take on 9 guys, and it should be a minigun, full auto, and just mow them down. Like, what's his face in Rogue One? The big dude.
Yeah.
Because he walked, whose name I can't remember. He walked around with a minigun, and it worked until it jammed. And but I mean, this didn't even jam. It was just he didn't do the set. He didn't read the book and do the settings.
Also, just pull a thermal detonator off of a trooper. They have them, but
exactly. I didn't love that when Lawson made the sacrifice play. He says to Two Boots, who does live, which is great. Richard Ayoade is fantastic. Two Boots get him to his mother, and I said, but she's an imp stooge, right?
She is.
You think maybe it's better not to get him to his mother? Maybe he should. I would say not really stay with you guys because you're with criminals, but doesn't he have a cousin somewhere he can go live with? Because his mom kind of sucks. We got that vibe. But
I mean, we got the idea. So the thing about his mom is we don't really get an idea. And this is kind of, I know I nitpick this problem every time it comes up. I gave it shit during Andor. I gave it shit during Rebels. Like this is a story bit that I want them to do right, and they just don't. But it seems from that very, very brief HoloNet conversation that we had between Riley and his mom, she still cares about him. So she would be willing to protect him. And so if they're going to do what they probably do, which is what they do with most Imperial characters, is have some sort of moment of conversion, it's going to be because I have to protect my son. Okay.
Right.
It's been done a bazillion times. All right. But I think that's if they're going to bring her in, which they animated the model, so they probably are.
Right.
That's probably what's going to happen. So I can understand why you're going to do that, where you're going to have like a kind of an Agent Callus sort of thing of like, oh, I like the Empire, and like, oh, but my son is amazing, and oh, da 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 da, and then she's going to change. So
I want to kill him.
So that could happen, or if they want to be a little bit more edgy, and if they want to do a little bit more writing that could be a little different than what they've done,
right?
They could have this be a parallel of both Riley and Devin falling to the dark side in a different way. That could be interesting. I don't think that's what they're going to do based on what we've seen with different characters. But maybe.
Right.
I don't think so. But maybe.
Yeah. And that's where I'd land. You know, if I move into talking about kind of overall big vibes and how I'm feeling about everything at all, the series all told is about a 6 or a 6.5 for me, I would say.
Fair.
And that's kind of skimming it all together.
And I mean, it's got great performances. It's not that.
Yeah. And again, and it's really illustrated looking at this Tusha Black. I accidentally skimmed a couple of sentences of the summaries as I was posting them to our flow and before I watched it and did my notes.
Yeah.
And I was like, the most super obvious developments were revealed, and I already knew. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to go from A to B to C. It's going to be the set pieces in the 2 episodes, and then really throughout the 6 episodes that preceded it, or the 8 episodes that preceded it, there were some great ones. And something like this is built around set pieces. You know, the Death Star trench run, the going through the tunnels inside the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. It's like those are, you know, or Luke and Vader,
Cloud City,
Hoth, Luke and Vader fighting on Bespin, Luke and Vader fighting on Death Star 2. It's like it's really built. You know, Jabba's Jabba's skiff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I will give one comment about visuals that I noticed in it may have been in both of these episodes, but there were a couple shots where things were moving and they had purposefully made it look like a matte painting. So like, like the Star Destroyer had like an extra engine or something. Like, you know, those things where like the matte painting, whoever did it just didn't quite, they got a detail just a little wrong.
Okay.
Just because like perspective or whatever, but it was just something a little, I don't know if it was necessarily like this was an artistic decision or whatever, but it was something that I noticed that I thought was interesting, where there was a very, very matte painting on canvas look to one of the wide shots where there was one of the lats was flying across the screen.
Right. So in Told, here's my big fear, and this is, you know, it's a reason why we're kind of slowing the show down a little bit, is that I'm starting to feel like we've kind of hit a creative floor in Star Wars. We're not making we're not making up new ground. We're not doing new things.
Yeah.
So my question is, have we hit a creative floor? Have we slammed into the floor? Are there no stories left to tell that we just got to keep trudging over the same beats? And even worse, taking a character that a lot of people love. And again, we keep coming back to the Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett was about a character that we met him in 1980, and he was very mysterious, and he didn't say anything, you didn't know anything about him. Then we got to the prequels, and now he's a scared little boy who's a clone, and his daddy got killed, so that's his motivation. And you know, then we slide back into regular continuity, and he looks like he dies in the Sarlacc, but he really doesn't, because he fights his way out, and then he has this spiritual journey with a lizard in his nose and stuff, and then he wants to be the crime boss, and it's just, let's take a leap and start a new something in a different time period elsewhere in Star Wars.
Or if we're going to be doing these stories, then at least take more inspiration from some of the authors who have told some really good stories, like Timothy Zahn. Like it's some almost really good stories that have already been told. I know that Filoni's borrowing from them because he's done that a lot before. Borrow a little bit more plot, less just the characters, borrow some of the plots.
Because, I just felt like this was Book of Boba Fett all over again. You've taken a character that has name recognition. You're trying to give him more depth, but you're not doing it. Or you're doing it in a way that's kind of half-assed, which is what Boba Fett was like. Okay, well, he wants to be a benevolent crime boss and make Tatooine great and stuff. Well, why does he want to do that, and does he get the job done? You know? So the series has left me it's kind of let the air out of my basketball. You know what I mean? It stomped on my pickleball, for lack of better more, you know, I got a cracked pickleball. That's my Star Wars right now. What lies ahead? and I don't want to say you and I are giving up, but it's just like I kind of throwing my hands in the air. I want more out of it. My hopes are pinned on Starfighter because it is purportedly a completely new story with completely new characters.
I mean, Skeleton Crew was good, and that was completely new. So
right, but they're not making any more of that, are they?
No, but that's fine. Like they wanted to tell like a Goonies story and do it in one season, and they did. So
and they slam dunked it.
I'm good with like not having things outstay their welcome or what the creatives are willing to do. Like for instance, there was not a Star Wars thing, but there was an animated show back on the Disney Channel back in the early teens. It was called Gravity Falls.
Oh, okay. That sounds familiar.
And the showrunner, Alex Hirsch, was like, we're doing 2 seasons of this because that is the story that I want to tell.
And then
I'm done. And Disney tried to get him to make another season. He was like, there's no more story. There's nothing more to tell. And so it ended. And that's what he wanted to do with like a 3 or 4 part massive finale.
Artistic integrity. And where is it?
And it's one of those things that like, I think that we need to have more of that, and Filoni's capable of that. He just needs to have a little bit more of he needs to have a little bit less of the corporate overlords being like, we need this to make money now, and just be like,
money now,
let the man cook and see what he comes up with. Like, stop trying to churn stuff out. Like
which they've done.
That's why I'm okay
massively.
with. That's what I'm okay with. Like we were talking about earlier about like franchises taking a little bit of a nap. I'm like with Star Wars, Lucas stopped after Jedi, and aside from Shadows of the Empire, there was nothing like majorly official aside from video games, but nothing official coming out of Lucasfilm. Mm-hmm. And then they got to the prequels, and I know there's differing opinions, but like out of everything, what we got was George Lucas doing like him thinking it through, and boom, there it is. And it was doing a good job for the most part.
Right. For the most part.
But he was able to like plan it out, plot it out. And yes, he kind of finalized the scripts, wrote the dialogue in between. Like episode 2 was being finished while episode 1 was like getting released. Episode 3 was finished while episode 2 was getting finalized. Like, yeah, that's how script writing works. But the fact that he had time to kind of like think about that and not just be like, boom, 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 we have to just keep on churning things out. I think that would be helpful for Star Wars at this point, is just take a little bit of a breather. I don't know, shake up who you got in the writer's room. I'm available. I'm kidding. I'm not that good.
Nudge for all of them who are listening.
Kidding. I'm not that good.
If Disney was listening to this show, we'd probably both be.
I would get Death Star. That's what would happen.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like, get some new blood in there, or old blood. Get people who know stuff. Get them in there and get some ideas. There's so many people who tell stories in the Star Wars universe, unofficially, that there are stories out there that can be told. So I'm not giving up. It's just you got to find someone who's willing to tell a story, and willing to tell a story that is appealing to the fan base as a whole. Because yes, there are lots of people who are willing to tell niche stories, and we saw how The Acolyte went. That didn't go so well. So
it was too nichey, the director, thumbing her nose at the audience base didn't help either.
Yeah, that's part of the niche part. You can't be like, my niche is the entirety of the franchise. You can't do that. So there's nothing wrong with telling niche stories, but when you're like, this is what Star Wars is, or this is what franchise is my niche, that's not true.
Right.
So I would say that's kind of what I would think about going forward.
I hear you. So, but again, we will move on. We're going to get a little more selective on this show about kind of what we're talking about. So we're going to be getting back, and we'll do a little bit more exploration of some of the, animated works that have come along, because, we'd love to talk about content and stuff. And we're not going to sit down and hammer out a whole book, but we'll get back to talking about comics, because I know I think one of the very next things we're going to do is Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was another comic from the Dark Horse era. That was
the original book. Yeah.
That was which was released before, or was written before
It was released in
A New Hope.
79, I think.
78 or 79, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was released before Empire, because it was in case Empire didn't get made.
Right. I think either that or the Shadows of the Empire first-person look back is going to be our next episode. Yep. That'll be
and then at some point we'll go over Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. So we'll be around. So yeah, we're going to release, basically I was looking at the calendar, it's going to be the end of every month. You're going to have another episode of this show. But let us know how you're feeling. As always, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com we would love to have you send us a note. Let us know how you felt about MAUL Shadow Lord. Don't let it all be about us. I know we had a lot of negatives. We had some positives, but if you're 100% on the other spectrum, let us know, and we will talk about that on our new show. We'll develop a. It's funny, in our flow we always have the segments and fractions, so we'll develop like a segment 3/4, and that'll be all about the mailbag, because I would love to get some feedback from social media or from the email. But anyway, that is our show for the month of June, wrapping up Shadow Lord. Peter, where do people find you out there if they want to lambast you about your egregious assault on Filoni's latest opus?
Well, if you want to find me around, you can find me on most social platforms at Petrus Aquinas. I'm not terribly active, but if you poke at me and say, hey, I want to talk about this, I'll probably respond. Otherwise, you can find me on our Discord. You can find me on ELH's Discord, Twitch, and YouTube, where we do mostly Star Trek, but role-playing adventure games. And then you can find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior. And I think we got another episode coming out soon. So,
ooh, you and I were actually breaking a Star Wars story fairly recently here that I know we have some high hopes for. So you'll hear us talk more about that as time goes by over on Code 47 and other socials. But you can find me. I keep an eye on all of the Secret Friends Unite socials. We're everywhere except for X and TikTok. Don't really mess around with those. But my personal stuff is at the C3THE, CEETHREE, where I'm sharing a lot of the same content, including my fun little 3-minute kitchen chats where I touch upon things that I don't get to cover in our other shows. Like, for example, April and I went and saw the movie that has got all the beta alpha kids blown up right now, Obsession, which was a horror movie that was really quite wacky. So I think she and I are gonna do a video about that, if not today, then tomorrow. But you will see that out there. But other than that, that's where you find me. Don't forget patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. And of course, secretfriendsunite.com is where you can find all of our episodes and updates and things of that nature. We will see you guys at the end of July. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to tell, as always, that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.